So what we're going to start off with is pretty much a quick conversation that Nat and I were having around more examples for you around how like random things happen, and you go, oh, like I don't know why I'm doing that, but do it without knowing where it's going to, like, again, like when you're saying, oh, it didn't work, so, you know, oh, it didn't work, like you gotta, like, no, it's about something bigger. So my example is when I went to get insurance for my business, they said, do you have a qualification? Now my head says, this is all literally just, everything's guided, except for EFT, I've got no spiritual qualifications, right? And I'm happy to say that because it's just, you know, whatever I get, right? But how do you tell that to an insurance company, right? So my head's just gone, fuck, what do I do? All of a sudden what came out of my mouth is, I've got a business degree.
Which is all they needed. And they wouldn't have, like, even if you'd like gone to the biggest shamanic healing, they wouldn't have cared as much about that. They wanted that.
But who would have known that back when I did my business degree as a like teenager, early 20s, would help me in my business now?
Yeah.
Like I've always just gone, oh, I don't even use my business degree. That's the first time I've ever used my business degree.
That is not true. It would have shown it.
Well, you know different, but it is, like, you don't know why you do things, and Nat's got some really cool stories around things that she's done and how that relates.
When I was in my early 20s, I did a diploma of education and then went into bookkeeping to earn the money, like back in the day where it was all manual. So got into bookkeeping to earn the money to have a job while I was studying and had a young child. And then I never worked in childcare. And then 4 years ago, I was employed by the government, and I was just like, I'm not doing this anymore. This thing, it's soul killing. People are not nice here. Yeah. Blah blah blah. I will resign in January. My 2IC resigned, so I was like, shit, can't leave my team now. I'll resign when I replace her. So I was highly motivated to get her replaced because I was going to get out. And then lockdown came. So I worked in employment services, youth services. So of course our caseload tripled. All these things of uncertainty around employment and stuff. So I sorted out for the 3 months we were at home, but I was halfway through studying a diploma of education because a year ago, I was like, that's how I'm going to get out of this job. I'm going to go and do this. And when I went to get my quals, my certificate stuff acknowledged, they said, oh no, you did it too long ago, you have to do it again. I was like, are you serious? Another $2,000 in 2 years of my life while I'm working. So I plodded along doing all of that, redid my diploma of education again, and then that was my way out. So I graduated in the November, and then January I was going to resign, blah, 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 lockdown came. So when I left, I was like, right, well now I've gone to childcare, because the place where I'd done placement wanted me there. A centre in Weeper was understaffed and wanted a director, so I would have gone to Weeper. And then it was like, oh yeah, but you have to be vaccinated. I was like, well, that's not a choice I'm making. I was like, are you kidding me? Why have I gone and done this diploma twice and I still haven't worked in childcare? I still haven't worked in schools. And then through that, I was also doing a training and assessment, because the partner I had at the time, we had a training company. So I said, sure, that'll be free for me. I may as well do it, who knows where that might lead. And so it didn't lead to anything. And then years later, I wanted to accredit my cacao training. I wanted to create a brand new modality with it. And IOCT said, do you have a training and assessment, and do you have a diploma of education? Funny you should say that. Wow. I have all of those things. And that's how I have my own modality, because my modality was channeled to me, and I had never been trained, because no one was trained. I was the first person who accredited a training program in cacao, and I was like, now that's why I did that TAE, and why I've done my diploma of education twice and still never worked in childcare. And this is so much cooler.
Yeah.
And at the time, what I was saying to Kim was, I didn't know that I was looking and knowing into the future when I've made a lot of decisions, and they've seemed stupid or annoying or an extra cost, or I hated doing that TAE. It was horrible.
Yeah,
it's so irrelevant.
The most soul-killing qualification.
And it's so irrelevant. It's all about warehouses and chemicals, not about how I want to train people in modalities. So now I can train people in all the modalities I've got and get insurance that I didn't know at the time what you said before, that I was knowing in the future what I needed and doing it then not knowing, and then it turns out to be like, oh, that makes sense now.
Yes, so it comes back to you don't know what you don't know, and then you've got to.
But you know.
I don't like saying you've got to trust, because again that still feels old. It kind of just feels like this is just how it is. Like we don't need to question. I think the head is the one that questions it.
I've done a lot of career changes in the last 10 years. You know, I've gone from education, I won't be able to elaborate it, but I've gone from so many career changes. And so when I go to the next employer, they're like, oh, you've only been in this such and such, you know. And I went, yes, and they want to know why, you know. So I'm thinking, who says you have to stay in one job? Who says you have to stay in one career path? So looking back of all the things that I've done, whether it was a good thing or a bad thing, I've got all these fantastic gold nuggets that I could put it in there, and I went, oh my gosh, I now know how to apply this because I've done this experience. I have done this. Now is the perfect time. So even though it was a very trying time for me in the last 10, 15 years, I'm here now and I'm very grateful for those experiences. And like you said, it's just sometimes.
I feel like it's like not so much a trust, it's a knowing. And this is what I'm saying around here. You need to step into your knowing to say, I know that this is relevant, I just don't know how.
Yeah.
But again, this is why I'm saying this is all about the hows, because some of these things that we've talked about, and you might even see in your own life, oh, that happened because of that, but you didn't know back then. You knew, even like don't discard anything you've done, because you don't know how that's going to unfold, but trust and know that it's relevant somehow. So even what you're doing now, if what you're doing now is not relevant, you have to know that it will be relevant at some stage, otherwise you wouldn't be doing it.
So do you think then, based on what you were saying earlier about, you know, the computer brain and then the internet gives you the information, do you think that then means the internet's giving us those downloads and that information, and then 5 years later it makes sense?
Yeah.
So it may not always be, but why am I doing this and I didn't get that instant gratification, or it didn't, oh, I thought it was that and it wasn't that, because it could still be.
And it's like it almost brings you back to that whole journey. It's part of the journey, and you just, again, we're not here to do the one job the whole time. So, and that's what the prophecies are saying, is the jobs that are going to happen actually won't be, like there's going to be brand new jobs being created.
Brand new jobs, like in all this AI stuff.
I was about to bring up AI because there's really good roles for AI in humanity, and how that's actually going to change how we deal with each other. Because we're stepping into it now, right? So what I've been shown around AI is going to do the mundane stuff, whereas we are going to be stepping into making each other more important. So it's going to give us more time to focus on people and roles. So the roles in the future, it's already happening. The roles that are coming up for everyone is all going to be about caring for each other. That's our jobs.
Yeah.
AI is going to be doing all the other mundane stuff that does it better than us. Like, we don't need to be worrying about all these other things. And in fact, AI, what I've been shown, is quite a good teaching thing. Like, I know my daughter already, she wasn't an English person, and now she's in a marketing role where she has to write. So she's not a writer. She always used to come to me. Now she goes to AI, and AI is teaching her how to write better.
Alright.
Yeah.
What's AI?
Artificial intelligence. So yeah, it's a whole new world.
Well,
Yes.
I know what that is. It's really funny.
It's ChatGPT.
ChatGPT, yeah.
Or even
Right.
Facebook has it all.
Yeah, it almost.
Yeah, it all has it now. So this is where what I've been shown is that we are going to focus on what's more important, which is each other. So if again in your mind you can say, yes, that is its role. Its role is to do the things that we don't like, that are taking us away from each other. Which
Look
is
at a robo-vac. Like, if you had have thought and said 10 years ago, you won't be vacuuming, or even my nana, let's go back to our nanas 100 years ago, when they were doing it all by hand. You had no electricity even.
Yes.
They were, if we said now, one day there will be a robo-vac that you turn on
Yeah.
and it bounces off the walls if you don't. What a ridiculous waste of money.
Yeah.
But I know the people that have those,
Yeah.
that's saved them hours
Yeah.
once a week, but all of the little bits and pieces in between where there's a spill or a dirty or I need a
Or a
tidy.
white dog.
Yeah, or an animal or a cat or people with allergies or kids and dropping food everywhere and ants and cockroaches and rats and stuff like that. Like that sort of stuff blows me away that we didn't even know computers existed when any of us were kids, maybe you, but the rest of us,
The
we didn't
military
even know.
children.
Born in the right year.
Yeah, we didn't know computers were ever going to be a thing, and I remember.
You know, I went through
working for the
uni without a
government.
computer. I look
Yeah.
now and go, how did that even happen?
I did 2 diplomas, degrees without it, and when I worked in the government as a bookkeeper, it was all manual.
Yeah.
When the computers came in, I said, oh no, this will not last. No, these will be a fad. I kept a whole 2 years of manual, and my book was like this, everything manual, and I put it on the computer. But I really didn't think computers were ever going to stay. Like, how crazy is that I thought that when they're now in your pocket? I even saw someone with a ring.
Yeah.
That, like, we didn't know these things were ever going to happen in our lifetime. It's
Watching
amazing.
the Jetson.
But this is what I've been showing about technology. So technology, AI, all that sort of thing. Now this is, if we, now in our own minds, we need to actually see that this is the purpose, because again, that's what we want to focus on, right? We want to focus on AI and technology as helping us to be more present with each other. So, and people say, oh, phones or whatever, but I'm sorry, I would not know any of you if I didn't have that. So it's bringing people together. And sometimes I go, again, we've been programmed or conditioned to, oh, the kids are on the phone or the whatever. And every time I go to say, get off your phone, I'm like, hang on, they're probably talking to someone or messaging, connecting to someone, they're doing something. So it's again, like, we've got to get out of our minds that it's bad, and again, like, make sure it's being used to connect. Did someone get a connect card? So it's all about connection. So AI and technology is going to help us to be more present for each other. And this is what the roles, I'm being shown 50% of the roles in the future are all going to be based around caring for people. And it's going to be focused, like it's going to be a main focus that everyone knows that that's the important, because you can see now the main thing these days, usually it takes something pretty bad to happen for us to then come back to what's really important. So this is where, again, from a mind perspective, we need to see people as more important and share this message, because it's true. People are the most important things. Whereas I think we've all been brought up with the job, car, house, money, all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's not. It's people and our experiences with people and what we do together. And again, what I've been showing is, because you imagine if everyone's connected to the internet, well, no one's acting from a place of anger, frustration or whatever. If they want the information, they'll get it, because they just connect to the internet 24/7. So people are going to be constantly collaborating. People are going to be constantly, working together or sharing ideas and all that sort of thing. And this is what we're moving into. But again, most people, if not all people, need to actually know that we've been upgraded to do this, which I don't think many people know, because again, if you look at most of the issues in the world, it's mental health. Mental health is going back around in the computer, all of this. So it's like, once the reprogramming happens and that people are receiving information, and then using their minds to, again, make sure that the folders and the information they have in their programs are aligned with, again, their intuitive side, then we're going to start to find, again, the flow is going to be more. And I'm even seeing, this is where I've been showing about the 3 T's. So the 3 T's are telepathy, which is the first one. Now, telepathy isn't the whole, I'm going to send you a message, is it? It's literally, I was just thinking of you. Hey, it's again the whole process of, you don't have to think about the phone number. You don't have to think about the grass and the balloon. You don't have to think about the fingernails. It's just there. So telepathy is the same. It's just there. And we will start to communicate with each other from a place of understanding, not even language, because it all comes through feeling. So already, I mean, if you look at, and you know, most of the planet's empathic now. Everyone's picking up on everyone else's stuff. That's telepathy. We're doing it already. So the more, and we don't have to tune into it, it's happening. The more we realise it's happening, the more you'll notice it, that we are communicating this way. But this is where we're going to start to find that even languages aren't going to be a barrier, because it's energy. Energy says the same thing. It doesn't matter what language you're talking in. So telepathy is the first T. The second T is telekinesis, which is things moving again by themselves, which will be very natural very soon. The more we tune into the internet, we'll be shown the hows, we'll be given the information, and that's going to start to progress in that way. And then the third T is teleportation. So planes will no longer be a thing. And again, we won't have to try. We won't even have to go to portals to move. It'll just be, we'll understand energy, we'll understand all the processes. We'll know, and it's all, these are all effortless processes. If we come back to, again, these basic things that I was saying, which was, we don't have to remember, we don't have to think, we don't have to do anything. It's a natural process. And the more we tune into the natural processes, keep receiving all the new information, this will just naturally unfold, because that's just how it's going to be. So it's the same with healing. So that's the next thing that's going to completely change. Because if we look at the technical thing around our bodies rejuvenate to brand new bodies every 7 years, right? Now, some changes every second of the day, and others take a little while to heal, but it naturally heals. So it's like, well, what do we need to do for our bodies to naturally heal? It's just through consciousness and understanding that it naturally heals, and then it will. So then it's like, okay, so we've been told we've got to find out what's blocking, but do we?
Yeah, exactly. Was there a problem there at the first place?
Well, again, it's like, this is where we're playing with different levels of consciousness,
yes.
Where it's like, the more you play around with it, more you realise there's multiple truths around this. And it's like, whatever truth feels good to you will be the truth, and then watch, it'll change again. The more you're connecting to the internet, the more information you're getting, the more it's just going to keep flowing through. And then you'll find, yeah, that feels really good, that resonates. And then all of a sudden, if you're feeling uncomfortable or something's happening, you go, oh, there's another truth that needs to come through. And then again, you do your activity or whatever, and you'll get the information around what that is. So if you look at your own healing or someone else's, you go into, again, the surrender of it and let it show you what wants to come through around that, because technically it will do it by itself. So when I'm teaching quantum work is, again, working in the quantum, right? So when you're working with the quantum is all the essences of what the universe is made up of. So if you just sit here quietly, if we just sit here, like, keep really still, is everything still moving around? Is everything still happening? So what actually happens is change is a very natural thing. Change is always happening. So if you have a physical issue, all you really need to do is sit with it and look at it. It'll change by itself. And if you have nothing attached to it, it'll do its thing, because that's how the universe works.
Yeah.
I know, again, I'm not going to say it's right or wrong, good or bad, but we've put so much emphasis in making things happen. Again, surrender. I just have to keep coming back. We've got to keep coming back to that concept of the natural laws of everything, which naturally evolves and changes. Like, it just does. We say we want to make it happen quicker, but it happens quicker by doing this. It's, again, not getting in the way of that process. So when we're looking at, again, if you've got healing that needs to happen or whatever, see what comes through you to help you to actually look at what needs to happen. And you'll find, especially practitioners and things like that, they're always receiving new information. So again, we never go into a session thinking we know everything, because you actually don't. You're always constantly receiving. Again, if you think about the whole planet doing that, then again, we're going to have a different planet. We're going to have, different things. And I have been shown that the future is all about the self. So it's all around everyone focusing on themselves, and then everyone else being a representation of what's happening within them. So that's where we all take care of our own emotions, we all take care of our own pathways, everything else. When you stick in, because if you look, most of our issues come up around other people. But if you focus on you, you're actually okay. You're okay.
Yeah, that came to my awareness a few weeks ago. And
Yes.
I'm like, that wasn't even mine. I'm okay. So once I've removed all of that, where am I? I'm actually okay. I'm
Yeah.
good. I'm good.
And if you do that, if you go, oh, let me just look at me, that's the first words you'll get. I'm actually okay. It's the first words you'll get when you come back to you. So if you look at issues that are coming up, just go, okay, let me just come back to me. You will get that phrase, I'm actually okay. It's very weird how that happens. Just keep coming back to you, I'm actually okay. So then what happens is it's like a big reset. So then you just like go, okay, I focus on me, I'm okay, well then everything's okay. And then you can start receiving again and start going through the flow. So when I say focus on yourself, it's like it is just focusing on who you are as you are is actually okay. Then you can watch the brain click in and go, well, what about this? You go, yeah, that's the old computer that's getting you information. So again, you can see it's like a nice reset to get back into the flow of all of that. So that's really helpful. But with the healing element, does that kind of make sense with how we're going to be moving forward from a healing perspective? And again, you can see it's like, it's up to everyone's like responsibility for them to look after themselves and then for everyone to follow their own guidance that's coming through. So again, it's not going to be based around anyone else's stuff. So everyone's going to be doing, so you can see already, you can feel already the jobs in the future and everything else are going to change. Like people won't be going to people for things, but there will be something happening when they're together. Again, it's about people being together and doing things together, facilitating other things. So it's a very different dynamic that's going to be happening. So then talking about, say, money in the future and what's moving, because a lot of people are predicting things around money and what people should be doing and everything else. I've been shown that diversifying money particularly is really important because it's going to be volatile for a while. It's going to be up and down. Some things are going to be good, some things are not going to be good. So as long as you kind of just cover your bases with lots of different areas and just have a bit here, bit here, bit here, you know, even as people talking about just having cash, well, have some cash, have money in all these different places, and then that way what's going to happen is you'll start to again use your intuition to see what you want to do with it, where you want it to go and all that sort of thing. But also money isn't real. It's really, nowadays it's literally just numbers on a thing. So again, we really need to look at our perceptions around money and what that looks like. And the less we have focus on what it actually is meant to be doing, it's going to start changing its role. And again, your intuition will tell you what the role is around what that's going to be for you. If it doesn't feel good, that's old. And if it feels good, then that's the new concept around what it's meant to be doing. But it's again going to change as our consciousness changes. It's going to be changing all the time. So again, be open to receiving more information around this, and you'll actually start to be getting like new concepts coming through. Or again, if it's not coming through this way, you'll see it somewhere. Someone will be doing something. How many times, like, I don't know if you guys have done this. I mean, it's a big thing for me when I'm finding people online who are actually doing amazing things in the world, but it doesn't look like work, but they're making a lot of money. And it's like, that's the way we're headed, where people can just, again, the be, do, have. They're being themselves, getting paid to be themselves, and then they just have or whatever. But again, you can see there's a cycle where it just keeps going around. And that's, again, that be, do, have concept is going to be really, really important moving forward. And then, coming into relationships and things like that, again, I've been shown that diversity is the main thing. One person cannot fulfill the role of everyone. A lot of people talk about the one and all that sort of thing, but everyone has a different role for each person. And I've actually had this conversation with my husband recently where I said, oh, this is your role for me and this is what you fulfill. And his answer back to me, he had a direct answer back to me which was, I just need your full attention. And I'm like, dude, that's not happening. That's not possible. Like, if you look at it, that's not possible for one person to give another person their full attention, because we're multifaceted beings and we have different lives. I'm lucky that he works away part-time.
What did you think of your response there? Did you say that?
No.
Oh.
No. No, it's just an interesting awareness at the moment. I have no response at the moment because I'm waiting to see what happens. But that's an interesting thing that's come up.
Speaking of relationship, I raised a question with somebody and I said, what if being alone and being balanced and happy and content and everything is all you need to be? Who says you have to have a partner? Who says you have to have twin flames, soulmate? We're all soulmates, I know that. But what would it look like for some people when you're happy and content and everything is all good? Who says you have to have a partner?
Well, this is where it comes into roles. You have to look at, because I think again it's the mind, right? Mind is the consciousness. So if in someone's mind their partner is the one that has supposed to fulfill everything, it's not going to work. It just, this I'm talking about future, like moving into the future, where when we're multifaceted beings and we need other people in our lives. It's like, as parents, we shouldn't really be the only ones bringing up our children. It's like grandparents and aunts and uncles and having influences. So that this is the thing, is that when we're looking at partners, it's like, I think the philosophy was that partner's meant to be everything,
which is ridiculous.
Well, that's what people think. This is what I'm saying. Like, this is what we're moving into, is an understanding, which is what consciousness is. The understanding is moving forward that once you understand what the role is that you want from that person, then you can actually know that, and who's meant to be fulfilling that role. And that role could be just a booty call every 2 weeks. I don't know. As long as they're fulfilling a role, you know what I mean? And then it's a really healthy way of looking at relationships when you don't expect something from someone who's not going to give it to you.
Also, the happiest cohort on the planet is single. Happiest and healthiest cohort on the planet is single women. And as they're married, their health declines.
That happened to me. I was happily single right up until I met my ex-husband, and I fell pregnant very quickly, and we thought we'll do the right thing and everything. My whole life just dwindled. So now it's coming. It's all good, But I often have my best friend who's known me since high school. She said, "You need to marry a woman because that's all good." And I'm like, "No," and everything. But it's
see, when you
say that coming out of a marriage, aren't they?
But when you say you're happy, that's telling you that there is no one that you need to fulfill a certain role.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so it's like, so you just look at, people if you look at people in your lives, you'll actually notice that they do fulfill a role for you. And once you know what that role is, it's just easier. Again, it's all easy once you don't ever expect anything else from that person, because you know what that role is. And so this is where, everyone's going to have different roles with different people. And once you understand what that role is, you're going to have much healthier relationships. And talking about what the role is, for each other is really important. So then, you understand each other a lot better to know that this is why they're in your life. Again, someone could have the role of being the triggerer. Okay, if that's their role, then that's their role. But you look at everyone in your life and you say, well, what is their role for me? And you'll actually see it's not the big thing that you thought it was. They do have specific roles. And you know what, again, intuitively, you can't make it up. You can't make up what those roles are. They will naturally have those roles, and it just will be that. And you can't go, but I want them to be that. Well, they're not that. So that's just how they are. So So, and then it's really good to see, okay, so if you are finding that there is something in your life that you're like, well, what role does that, what do I want for that? Then again, you receive the information around, what that needs to look like and what, again, what plays out with this. And this is where, when you receive the information, you'll receive it mainly with images, because that's how the brain receives it and processes it and holds on to it. Use your intuition to say, okay, is that it, or is there more? Or is this truth? Yeah. So can you see how that process works? So education is, again, coming back to self, focusing on self, and then starting to, I even heard last night, which I didn't know about, apparently there's a school on the Sunshine Coast that is called Unity College or something, and they actually have multiple religions.
Oh, cool.
Oh, yeah, I did. I don't know if I've read it on Facebook or somewhere, but I did read,
Yeah, so it's called Unity College because they teach Buddhism, they teach, I don't know, all the other that's the only one that she was. They teach all the, and again, the children can then kind of choose take what they want from one, and whatever. They go and visit these places, and they say Buddhism because they went to a Buddhist place, and they do that for excursions and all that sort of thing. So they just get that open understanding around what they want, so people can start to use their intuition to then actually start to understand what it is that they do want. And again, you can see it's not going to really the labeling is just starting to disintegrate and start to be less labeling, and again more onto you the self and what suits and what looks good. Because I don't know if you guys are finding, and the more you talk to people are actually starting to understand that not one thing will suit them. They'll take what they want from the thing, but again, we're going into this diversity of I like that from that, and I like this from this, and I like this from this, and this is what it's going to be like. And again, as practitioners and things like that, we're not going to be the only person. They need bits from here, bits from there, bits from, again, intuitively for them to learn and to grow and to, experience what they want to experience. So diversity, that diversity concept is actually going to be so big, and it's all about the self, it's all about intuition, and it is all around these other areas where we're going to be constantly receiving new information for us to step into what I call the unknown, because at the moment we don't know anything, and it's what I'm being shown is you've got this big space here of the future, and we're just at that little tip of it, and what I can see is it's magnificent, and we could never fathom how amazing it is. You think everything's good now, or even if you're thinking that something's not good, but again, if something's not great right now, it's to tip it. It's for the greater good. You just don't know why that's happening.
I say to people, look, there's always a blessing in the challenge, because down the track, the challenge that occurs, you don't know what the blessing is.
It always facilitates something.
So you look back and you're like, that didn't work out because it did this. I didn't know it at the time. Now I know. Yeah. Makes sense.
But I think the other thing is it's all about the intuition, and each person saying, so this is where we're not going to have the right or wrongs or anything like that, because it's you do you, I'll do me, and we're all good. And then again, what roles do you play in my life? Well, I love that for you, and I love that for us, and again, it's just, you can see this big, massive collaboration of everyone in the world just having a great time. I do see all the things that we worry about now just being nothing again once all this other stuff starts taking off. Even someone said to me yesterday, now this is at a family party, oh, so Kim, are we going to have World War III? I'm like, I'm at a party, dude. One of my uncles. I'm like,
Oh,
I get those random questions at anywhere I go, oh, so what do you see for the future? I said, no, there's not going to be a World War III. There you go, shut him up. There is, because there isn't. Again, the more we don't see it, yeah. So this is where we're going to go into now. I've kind of just touched on the basics, and we're going to start going really, really deep. So I'm actually going to ask you guys, not about you, but specific questions about like the future. And we're going to do you later on after our afternoon tea. But like any other questions or anything that you want to go deeper into the concept of that, so that we can bring out more information around what this looks like and all that sort of thing.
One question, you said you don't really do challenge. I'm interested to know more about that. But we do have, just to clarify, at one point you were saying we don't have to do the do, but then we do have to do the do. Do we do or don't do or? I'm curious about the do.
That's okay. And again, like that's your head trying to work it
It's
out.
probably because it's maybe my own challenge as well.
And again, like this will all be based around intuition. So this is where whatever I say, I want you to feel into it and then tell me how that feels. And like when you work with me, I'll always say, how does that feel? How does that feel? How does that feel? Like, it's just always like, so let's just say, so the head's trying to work out this doing element, right? So in your head, what does doing look like?
I suppose doing can feel a bit like work.
Okay. So can you see that that's a conditioned program, that's what you've linked the association?
Yeah, because I'm like, do I have to work hard? And
I
kind of
love
be
that.
Spiritual.
Yeah.
But actually, I think if I do try to bypass the brain and tap into the intuition, part of me says, always part of me, because there's so many parts, right? But says you can let go and let things come as well.
Well, I'll agree with that, because the more you let go, the more things come.
Yeah.
So then, like, when you go into the doing, and if you revert back to like what we were talking about with doing, it's all, what do I feel like doing? What feels like, it's a pull. Like what feels like needs to be done or wants to be done or whatever.
Yeah, because you said, oh, maybe you just want to do, you want to sit down and watch TV. I've never felt that as a doing, so I suppose.
It is a doing. Sleeping's
Yeah.
a doing.
Yeah, I never nap. Yeah.
It's all doing, because it's even like, again, where if we sit here and tune into the universe moving around us and we're sitting here doing nothing, that's still a doing. We're still doing something.
Yeah. So it's my concept of do.
Yes. Well, and I'll say the old program.
New information.
So you know what we've just done for you, and this is exactly what the prophecies are all about, is you're going to start to see things differently, and it's going to rewrite your old programs. So let's just say I'm talking about either whatever one resonates with you, either the sleeping or the sitting, and you're doing something, your head's creating an image for it to override and to rewrite the other one for it to be a brand new program. It's just called in the computer. So that you can, like, can you feel that pressure's come off now? There's nothing to do. I always say there's nothing to do.
Yeah, it's like, God, yeah, if only I'd known this earlier.
And can you see how powerful your brain is when it has a concept or a belief or a conditioned response or a learning or whatever? Because again, how much do we have? It's really good to understand what's in your head. And again, you'll know if something is, I just call it old and new. And I love using that analogy of old and new. Something's old if it doesn't feel good. So you've just said, that doesn't feel good, that must be old. I just say, oh, that must be old. You're ready for the new information. And then I've just given you some new information for your brain to go, hey, that feels better. Click. Have the image, make it clear, make it feel really good. And it will be your conditioned program later, like as a response to anything. But again, like sit with it until it feels like it's like all you can see and all you can feel in your truth.
Yeah, like being here today could be doing, I'm in the receiving position, but it's really important that I turn up here and do this. And,
You are doing this.
yeah.
When you're brushing your teeth, you're doing something. When you're making dinner, you're doing something. Like we're always doing something, but we've been told that if you sit around and do nothing, you're doing nothing. But we're always doing something, because how often are we, you said today, which is why it's really good to look at what activities you get the best ideas. You know, going for a walk is amazing because you're doing that, because you're getting great information, there's so much doing.
It's similar to procrastination. Like, oh, I don't want to do this. You know?
Cool, I
And
love
then
that
you're leaving.
question.
Yes.
Procrastination.
I can't cope, or I don't want to do this. Oh, I don't like this. And then a few days later, you're like, bang, you work on that momentum.
So procrastination is just literally a program. So it's you being in your head saying, I need to do that. Once you just say, oh, no, I don't actually, like even if you, let's just say the concept of procrastination, I'm just going to say this and you can take or leave it, the concept of procrastination doesn't exist. Because in fact, you just do things when they're meant to be done. Now, if you say, oh, I should be doing this, that's your head saying you should be doing it.
Correct. Yeah.
But your intuition's going, yeah, probably not. And that's all it is. Like, it's really, you watch, the more we step into the new, the simpler it's going to be. It's going to be just really simple. So when you come back to procrastination, yeah, even that word doesn't feel good. We've all had it. Okay, so that concept is old. We're ready for the new concept. And again, it's massive, whatever it could be. So it's like, okay, so if we step into that and go, okay, so if procrastination is old, what does the new look like? What does it feel like? What else could it be? And then that's...
New idea's going to show up.
Well, it's just not the right time. Cool, moving on. What do I want to do now?
Yeah.
Yes.
This really relates to what you were saying, like that in the old way it could have been procrastination, like preparing 2 days before. But
Yes.
would've
that
pushed through it
concept
in the
never even
past.
entered.
Yeah.
I would have completely pushed through regardless in the past. I said I was doing my tax today. I will not stop till I do my tax, and of course nothing balanced, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
So when I got to see procrastination as this is just because it's not alignment and didn't do it, I go and do something else and then come back and go, actually I'm going to do my tax now, and boom, balance first.
It happens by itself. Like I've got the tax thing too, and I don't have it anymore. But it's like you watch. If you go, I've got to do it. You'll never do it, and you just understand that you'll never do it. But then all of a sudden, you just find that all of a sudden you're there, you're sitting at the desk and you're doing it, and that's where you're going with that flow of whatever needs to happen. So it's just like, again, like sometimes not sometimes. It's yelling at me now. The universe will set you up. If something needs to be done, it'll set it up for you. So if you're meant to do your taxes, all of a sudden you'll get an idea, oh, I need to get something from my office, or I need to get something, and then all of a sudden something will pop up, and then you're like all of a sudden doing it. This is literally how it works. So can you see that, like, you can't procrastination is just like your head going, I should be doing it, by natural fact. And like Nat, how many times, you and I run events, like so many events, if you sit down and plan it, it's nowhere near as good.
Yeah.
And then usually, like you said, she had a whole speech set out to have this whole, big speech, and then all of a sudden when she's delivering it, came out completely different to what it was, and it was perfect.
Yeah. That's happened a lot this year, and I chuckled, and I'm like, oh, cool, I like that, So
Yeah.
It is easy. That's the magic of it.
And also, like, for us human beings on the planet, it's so much fun to be surprised. Like, and you just watch, it's really good to look at, say, for example, if you've got angst around something or whatever, and then something happens, and then you just watch it all unfold, and then it's really good to reflect back and go, oh, like, cool, that's so cool to see, like, even the freaking out beforehand, and then going, oh, but like, this all happened. Now, we're not saying you don't need to not freak out. It's just part of the process of whatever. Again, it happened for a reason, and sometimes we need the freak out to then know what it feels like to not have it. So it's just like, I know what to focus on now is the feeling good. And this is where, when you're coming into the house, it's current moment, and just whatever comes into your awareness, you just follow that, and it could be, oh, that pen's sitting there. Oh, I might just sit up and,
Yeah.
it's just whatever. Like, and so there's no thinking in it. As soon as you go into the thinking, you'll start to feel bad. It's just really natural, especially the working it out. And some people go, oh, I really love thinking. I'm like, actually, what you're doing is receiving. So you even watch The Big Bang Theory and all that sort of thing, and they're sitting there looking at this whole board of equations. They're not thinking. They have no idea what the answer is. They're receiving the information. And that's what all these scientists and all the big inventors and everything, and this is what we're moving into with the new and all the upgrades, is we're moving into this big brand new space. It is the unknown, but what is your sense about this? Is it that it's good? What is the sense about the future not going into your head? Let's go around and have a chat about that. Denise, what is your sense about the future in your gut without going into your head? Yep. Esther?
Took the words out of my mouth.
Okay, it could be the same because no, you watch. We will start all be speaking the same language, even if we're speaking different languages.
Yeah.
It could be the same thing.
No, it's not the same thing.
Yeah, she likes to give you a challenge. These are the challenges I like.
My poor little thinking brain goes, oh, lose
I
control.
did not ask you about your brain.
No, but like, yeah, my gut's going,
Thank you. That's all I want to know. Nothing else matters.
yeah.
The brain. The brain doesn't know.
Yeah.
The brain doesn't know because guess what? It only knows what it knows.
Yeah.
So even us doing this now, create the image, everything else, so that when you think of the future, the brain only sees this.
Yeah.
That we're okay. Again, you can do this with your gut when you ask a question about something and you ask your gut, ask it to give you an image, and it'll rewrite whatever the head was ruminating about. So it doesn't have to do that anymore. It's got like unlimited capacity to file information. It really has. It's a supercomputer. What about you, Gail? When you tune into like, what's your gut feeling around the future?
The unknown. I do actually feel the unknown.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know whether that's, oh shit, what's gonna happen, yeah. Or if it's, let it go. Let it go. I've got a mum that's very, very negative and basically lives in fear, so I have to really fight really hard not to let her stuff consume me. Yeah.
So again,
what I believe and what she believes is number 6.
that's okay. So remember when I talked about earlier, moving forward, the focus is on self.
Yeah.
Can you see like that, how that affects you when you're thinking about your mum? If you focus on yourself and just nothing else other than the current moment and your gut feeling right now, just again, everyone's got different processes around how that feels, and staying in that space. If you just like focus on your gut, breathe, and then just go, gut, what is your feeling about what's going to happen? What does it tell you? Like, what is your feeling about that?
I feel it's going to be okay.
Good.
The other day I was going to go to sleep at night, right? And I just saw this vision of me sitting, I just assume it's the world, I don't know. It's like I'm looking over valleys and mountains and stuff. And then it goes, bang, see you later. I'm like, oh wow, that looked pretty cool. So maybe that's what.
So that's your new image for the world?
It must be.
And whenever your brain goes, what does the unknown look like? Just go,
Yeah.
again, you
And
train your
it was
brain.
peaceful, it was like, wow.
Train your brain.
Wow, and then bang, it's gone. See you later.
But it's not gone because you just told us about it.
So this thing will come back and show,
Yeah. And you know what? You link it to the future or whatever because that's what you told us it was.
Yeah, well that's what I felt it was. Yeah.
So again, you can see that combination. But it was so good that you brought up what happens when you go into your head. That was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
You need to kind of see it or to see what, because then when it happens to you, you'll know.
Yeah.
So if you then just tune into yourself and go, what does this unknown look like and feel like? Can you see it's just open?
Yeah.
It's like
I was just saying to Denise that,
Now,
about
what does
moving
that
back
tell
up to
us?
Sunny Coast. What would my life look like if I moved back up to Sunshine Coast? And I just I felt peace.
Yeah.
I felt okay. So.
Well, but if you stay, like I know this is happening with your mum and all that sort of thing,
Yeah.
and it's, But you'll find that you'll probably be able to deal with it much better when you focus on yourself and then just be there for her. There's no other stories, nothing else. And then again, this is what we're going to be focusing on in the future, is actually people being more important. So when you're solid within yourself, you will then also be solid with her. So again, when we keep bringing it back to yourself, like even if you go into a crowded room or whatever, you just keep focusing on you, you'll actually find you'll feel okay. You just look after you, and then everything else will fall into place. Linda, what about you? What are you thinking of as you tune into that?
When I think, no, that's one.
No, not thinking, feeling. I used the wrong words.
That goes, yeah, Donald Trump and other things. But when I'm just, seeing, what I see is gold crowns and crystals and pretty. It looks pretty, and honor feels like a big part of how people live.
That's a good word.
Honoring each other.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a really good description of what it looks and feels like. It really does look and feel like that. Yeah, that's beautiful.
I resonate that.
Saying
That really does feel very good, which means it's true. Yeah. Lovely. Thank you for articulating that.
I was just thinking, as someone that really brings through this self concept, the holistic psychologist.
Oh.
She's all about some of these concepts. So self-healers.
Yep.
Like whatever's happened, you're an adult now. Like it's up to you to fulfill that in yourself. Like reparenting yourself.
Yeah.
As well. You didn't get your needs met, now it's up to you. And something else you said she does as well. But yeah, she's really I think quite a leader in this area. I haven't
that's
really
good.
thought of it, but
Yep.
it ties in with some of these things.
Which again, you can see this. They'll probably be the people who will be like the leaders in the future work.
Well, she's really brought it to the mainstream as
Great.
well. It's not like a far out kind of concept.
And you will find that most people will start to be speaking the same language.
Yeah.
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 Awesome.
It wakes a lot of people up. They go, oh my God, I went through that. Okay, I could do
And I think
this."
like a lot of people's heads think that if it's about like if they focus on them, either they're being selfish or that's their responsibility. But it's a little bit different. Again, it's how it's perceived. So it's more just around just being with yourself and making sure you're okay.
Yes.
Make sure you're okay first. Then you can make sure everyone else is okay. Like it's not saying that we're not gonna like look at anyone else, but am I okay? And when you get the yes I am, then you can deal with everything else. But just checking in with yourself, am I okay? Yeah, I am. Is everything else okay? Yes, I am. And then I can deal with, like so often we jump in trying to fix things and we're not okay yet. So we can again like jump in and do those things from that place of being okay.
The vision that I feel that we're heading into and already happening now, that we're going to remember so much about self, where we came from.
Yes.
It's like where we came from and now, all that stuff is just split second. So we're going to remember who we are. We're going home. But
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
But also being in that like
Yes.
third dimensional world ish. But yeah, being able to understand that. Nat, what's your feeling about, moving into the unknown?
Well, I feel like we're actually going to be rapidly moving more to live like this. That will go, oh, there's a memory about such and such moving forward. That we're going to be more about moving forward and creating than we have been focused, which was necessary, but focused on the past and the trauma and the healing of it and the analysing of it, but more into, well, this is what I need a new car, I need to move, I need this to happen, and then boom, we're totally in alignment with creating that rather than out creating the problems we created in the first place.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's oh look, I've got no words actually for what I was going to say around. Well, it's because it's not relevant, like what I was going to say, because where we are now, it's not like to talk about the way we dealt with things before had to happen, but it's just, again, we're moving into a different way where things will, and so we're talking about things speeding up, and this is another thing around time, which we'll talk about, is, everyone talks about time speeding up. I've been shown that time only speeds up when we're focused in the future of, what's happening. So it's like when you're in the current moment, and this is, I was shown, that's why when we're kids, time seems to slow down because they're always present in the current moment. They're not thinking about the future. And so again, from let's call it the space element of, time and space, because they're all linked, is that when we're in the current moment, we will find that time will start to slow down, and that there will be more time. Again, when we're operating in this place of not being in the head and receiving all the time, you can see the main thing is you're in the current moment. Like, it's not a trying to be in the current moment, you just are. So then when you're in that current moment and you're constantly just receiving and doing, receiving, doing, receiving and doing, then everything starts to slow down, but that's where everything else starts to speed up and starts coming to you and all that sort of thing. Because money is just a concept, even though it appears real, so is time. Time is, again, all the scientists have talked about time, and time can be anything. So check in again around how you feel about time, and then start to see, okay, so what does it look like around, being present, and what does it feel? Again, it's all about feeling. How do you feel when you're in the present moment? How do you feel when you're just being, again, even if it is just, sitting there? Like, you can see it's not, like, if you're watching a show or whatever, that's different. You're not present. So being present is really, really important. So you can be, let's just say, watching the show from presence, where you're going, okay, I'm watching this for a reason and I wonder what I'm watching it for. Then you'll start to pick up more and more and more things coming up. So it's just like, that's where you start to see synchronicities of things, messages, all that sort of thing. You'll have all these external things. And that's what I mean, that's coming to you when you're more present. And then you'll find that, so time will slow down, but things will come to you much quicker. And so this is where, again, if you're feeling like time's going too quickly or whatever, it's really big sign just to be present. And then just actually be super focused on having nothing in your head, and going back to that computer analogy of receiving information. And then when you're constantly receiving information, again, you've got that process of storing. So you let it do its thing, you let this do its thing, and your goal is just to be here to do it. Like, you are the doing, you are the action, the fun doing. We call it fun doing.
The fun doing.
The fun doing. So any other questions around the unknown before we'll have a break and go into you?
Can we get into Doctor Who blue telephone box and go into the unknown?
Yeah. Well, I just got told we're already in the unknown. So again, can you see, like, we're not really talking about the future, we're talking about now. So again, how does that feel?
I wanted to share, I had this experience after I had a session with you once, and I went into, like, it felt like, this might be how you always feel, Kim, but to me it was like an altered reality, and like, it was really good, and we worked on like guilt, and like, I had so much, I always felt like I was to blame for everything, but after all that, let that go. I was really hungry, so I just went into the kitchen and was making food, but I wasn't thinking at all. I was just like, open the fridge, get out the bread, make a sandwich. It was just a state where I wasn't thinking. I guess I was in a doing state, but it felt so good not to be thinking, like, it was just happening. I don't know if I can explain it right.
Well, with people who've done the upgrade work with me, I talk about the commentator. So the commentator is the one who says, go and get the bread out of the fridge, get the margarine, get the Vegemite, spread it on. It's like, we know how to do it. So I often say so what you've actually experienced is no commentator.
Yeah.
So how often is you've been doing something and it's like, oh, you've got to go and do this now, you've got to do that, and it's just like, oh, this is the way you do it. And if you watch your head do it, again, it's like, dude, I know how to do that. You don't need to tell me.
Yeah.
And then it'll go, okay, cool. And it sits down.
It was like an osmosis, like you were saying, you'll know, you just know. And I actually then had the experience of it. But I think I had to then go do school pickup, and like I totally sat down with it.
Oh, that's easy,
And
getting back
kind
into
of
normal
forgot
life.
about it. And I was like, oh, that experience. It was like for about half an hour or something, but I'm like, yeah, I'd love to get it.
So what you can do now, okay, so you've got the image. Again, you've explained it perfectly because it's a nice video. So what you've just done is you've actually brought up a memory that's already in your head, which is already a video program, right? But what the association is that you're not there. Can you see how that's like, so I'm not there. So then what you can do is you can actually say, okay, so that video, you can then say, okay, so what can I receive for it to be linked to a different association of that's more natural. So then if you look at that and you go, okay, so if that's like, sorry, I just got something else I had to write down. Not about that. Just something I want to show you guys later. So if you then have the image there and then you're linking it to yourself, it's like, all I can see is you are in the image, you are doing it, so there's no needing to try and be there or needing to do it. You've done it, so you can always keep doing it. That's just all I see. So then, like, can you see that video? Yeah, cool. But then if I go to link it to something, it doesn't feel good, so we don't need to do that. It looks like it's just the only thing you need to see, and whenever you go into thinking, you just bring that image up and then you'll be back. So you know how you feel when you're here. When you don't feel this way, you then just go, oh, that must be old, and jump back into the image again. It's really good to have an anchor image. This book's a really good thing as an anchor as well, to go, he did it, you know, they can do it. That's why we've been great to share stories, because it creates an anchor to, oh yeah, that's what they talked about. That's what oh yeah. So you have an anchor, I call it a screensaver in the computer. You can have that screensaver and you can always go there and you'll be there. And then you just do it.
Yeah, it's just me in my kitchen, just like,
Yeah.
it's all working.
And that's why, like, to be part of all of this, you've actually got to experience it. You can't tell someone what it's like. They have to experience it.
Yeah.
You can't teach this to someone who hasn't done it. Which is why you guys are here, because in somewhere in your lives you've had the experience. Otherwise, I'm not going to have someone here who's not experienced it. They won't turn up. And if they do, they would just be sitting here looking at us going, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, can you see how it all works? So, yes.
And you don't touch on deja vu.
Oh.
I get so much of that. And I've just had a couple today. So what does that mean to you? Can you translate that? Because,
Yeah.
like, for some people, they say you're on the right track. You know, you're not there. It's like I'm already used to it. It's like, oh, okay, all right. And I don't look into it, oh, what's going to happen next? It's just like it's a recognition that I've already experienced this before. And I'm like,
Can I tell you what I've just been told?
it's something that she said, I can't remember what it is.
It's almost like you're getting insights to your pathway.
But
in the future. So it's just insights. So you're just given insights before they happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But I've experienced it, I've dreamt about it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's what deja vu is like if you've seen it before, it means that like that pathway. And yes, you can change your pathway. Like everyone's got free will. When I do psychic readings, I can see one clear one, but there's lots of others. And you know, if someone goes, well, what about this, I say, well, you have to make a different decision to go on a different pathway. So like what you've been shown is things on your pathway, and they might not be meaningful, but again, it's showing you that's what I saw before. Well, I mean, whatever meaning you want to put onto it. It could just be that's just your pathway. And so that's where, again, it could be anything. And you can see, again, like whatever feels. So if it feels good to say I'm on track, that's good. Again, until that doesn't feel good. Like you just keep using your intuition to decide what you want things to mean, because ultimately we'll be moving into what does anything mean? It's because everything's going to keep changing and changing and changing. This is what the unknown is.
It could be a good thing and not so good thing. You know, so.
Well, there won't be that anymore
Yeah.
in the unknown and in the future, because it's like it's all everything just all happens.
Yeah.
It's like, this is so funny when I see like stories about people being killed and things like that, and I'm like,
No.
what like
Premonition?
no, just like stories like online about people being killed. I'm like, don't people know that people come back? Like,
Yeah.
don't think you're getting rid of that person by killing them. They're going to come back. Like, so, like, what's really going on here? You know, again, what you think it is not what you think it is. So it's like, and I feel like this is the other thing that we do have to be super careful with doing spiritual work, is that we take on a lot of concepts, and then they become true. But again, like, if we're moving into the unknown, a lot of things we've already learnt aren't true anymore. So again, like, it's cool to know what you know, but it's also, if we keep sticking with what we've learned, again, it's just what's in our head. Be open to receive new stuff, always, because it can always change. And actually it will change the more we move in. But again, if we stick to the same things of what we know, we'll just stay where we are. Because that's just, there's nothing wrong with staying where we are. But I don't know, I love exciting new things. It's like the shiny new thing, let's give it the new thing, you know, like let's just jump into the new thing, because that's exciting and it's new. And again, we're here to experience new things, unless if we like to experience the old things, but the new thing's always good, I don't know.
Yeah.
Any other questions before we break? No? Cool. Okay, I'm gonna